World Literature students, we are going to model an example for your literature circle rules. If you watch the different videos that are uploaded on YouTube, they go over detailed examples. However, this is how a literature circle should be conducted. And we are doing for Chapter 1 in Julia Alvarez in The Time of the Butterflies. My role as the discussion director is to give a brief summary along with covering the 3 important events I felt from the chapters we read, 5 important details, and then a summary of the reading. The different events that I found important in the first chapter is the fact that the interviewer comes to talk with Day Day about her sisters. Day Day starts bringing her sisters back to life for the interviewer, and then we see a flashback where she is sitting with her family when her father is telling fortunes or making predictions about the sisters' futures. The different details that I wrote down, and I cited them also with page numbers, are this is one of the reasons why Day Day shies away from these interviews. Before she knows it, she is setting up her life as if it were an exhibit labeled neatly for those who can read the sister who survived, which is probably something she struggles with on a day-to-day basis, and this definitely brings it to life come every November. Which leads into, oh dear, another one now after 34 years, the commemorations and interviews and presentations of posthumous honors have almost stopped, so that for months at a time, Day Day is able to take up her own life again. And again, I think this is reflecting on the first example and the fact that she can live her life every day, but come November 25th, it starts up again and she has to settle her life down. The last 3 examples I provided were for part of the flashback. The first one, they're all here, Mama, Papa, Patria, Minerva, Day Day, bang, bang, bang. Their father likes to joke, aiming a finger pistol at each one as if he were shooting them, not boasting about having sired them. 3 girls, each born within a year of the other. And then 9 years later, Maria Teresa, his final desperate attempt at a boy misfiring. She'll bury us, and this is father's, this is one of the fortunes of his predictions about the future. She'll bury us, her father adds laughing, in silk and pearls. Yes, for sure, our Day Day here is going to be the millionaire in the family. And finally, Day Day's reflection on her father's prediction. As Day Day is helping her father step safely up the stairs of the Galleria, she realizes that hers is the only fortune he really told. Maria Teresa's was a tease, and Papa never got to Minerva's or Patria's on account of Mama's disapproval. A chill goes through her, for she feels it in her bones. The future is now beginning. By the time it is over, it will be the past, and she doesn't want to be the only one left to tell their story, which is, of course, we know the dramatic irony in the sense that she is the only one. Part of the background information that we gathered in Stations is the fact she is the surviving sister, and she's the only one to tell the story for her sisters. Even though Alvarez does historical fiction, you know, it's still generally timelines, I felt. So it was an opening to everything.
My role is the connector of the group, and my job is to provide 6 connections to the text from 3 different types of connections, such as text to world, text to text, and text to self group. So the examples I came up with were some of the things that we have already done in class, such as text to world, the political climate. It reminds me, as far as Trujillo as a dictator, reminds me so much of Hitler. The things that happened in the Holocaust and in Germany, and people were afraid to speak because they can be reported to the government, which also happened with the Holocaust. Text to text, we've already read Night by Elie Wiesel, Danger of Expressing Opinion, No Trust, and even the same things that go on in the text as far as people that report to the government still get in trouble. You can't trust anyone. Even the Jews in the Holocaust were assigned as SS officers, so you couldn't even trust the kind of people that you already knew and trusted in before. Text to self group. This is just giving an example how the story that we're reading connects or relates to your own personal life or things around you, such as obligations, For example, the teachers had to stay 2 nights last week till 7 o'clock. We were obligated to do that. Not that we wanted to, but we had to in order to make sure we contacted parents, to make sure all you guys are passing your classes and are on track to graduate. So this one relates to something that you don't want to do, but you have to. So that's my role as a connector. Ms. Nero?
I had the role as the illuminator, and my job was to select and shed light on key passages through a well-written response. One of the passages that I picked out was on page 10, "You in Trujillo," Papa says a little loudly, "and in this clear, peaceful night, they all fall silent. Suddenly the dark fills with spies who are paid to hear things and report them down at security. Don Enrique claims Trujillo needs help in running this country. Don Enrique's daughter says it's about time women took over the government. Words repeated, distorted. Words recreated by those who might bear them a grudge. Words stitched to words until they are the winding sheet the family will be buried in when their bodies are found dumped in a ditch, their tongues cut off for speaking too much." And I thought this really set the tone for the rest of the novel, especially with regard to the political climate in the Dominican Republic at the time. The idea of spies listening outside of my house is unsettling, and to not be able to talk openly even at home would be a hard way to live. It would be like living a lie. Gosh, I hope nobody heard us. What can we add to make it seem like we were talking about something else? The end of the quotation is especially powerful because it paints a gruesome picture and possibly foreshadows the outcome of the novel. This idea of families being buried in sheets after being found dumped in a ditch, the idea of tongues cut off for speaking too much, is just icing on the cake. The cutting out of the tongue is particularly vicious and brutal, and seems like such a violation, taking a person who speaks too much and literally rendering them speechless. I wonder if the tongues were cut out before or after they were dead. And I just really liked this passage. I like the language and I like the cadence, and she's just a really good writer.
And I would probably have to guess, I'm sure their tongues were cut out before they were dead. More than likely with what we found out about Trujillo. He's definitely not one that would cut it out afterwards,
Right.
symbolically. So I do think that's something to worry about, what you say and who's listening.
My job in the literature circle is the questioner. I have come up with questions based on levels. I have level 1 questions, which are factual questions, which can be answered explicitly by facts contained in the text. Level 2 are inferential questions, which can be answered through analysis and interpretation of specific parts of the text. And level 3 questions are universal questions, which are open-ended and are raised by ideas in the text. They are intended to provoke a discussion of an abstract idea or issue. For my level 1 questions, I have: what are the names of the 4 Mirabelle sisters, and what does Papa predict for the future of his daughters? For level 2 questions, I have: what might the family's conversation foreshadow about the outcome of the novel, and how does Alvarez use time to control our understanding of the text? And the level 3 questions that I have: page 10 hints at the political climate in the Dominican Republic at the time of the girl's childhood. How does this compare with the current political climate in America? And the second question is: how might Mama's reaction to the telling of futures be indicative of families' beliefs, including but not limited to religious beliefs? How do these relate to your own beliefs about fortune telling or other psychic skills?
And another part that we do not have to model is the fact that as a questioner, you could wait and your group can brainstorm the answers. It's not something that you necessarily have to write down the answers to, though as a questioner, she would have the answers and to make sure that we were correct in our understanding from the story. We do not have a 5th member, but for groups that have 5 members, the illustrator is another role that people can have. Good readers make pictures in their mind, so from chapter 1, what did you think of? So an image that we have, Miss Nero, only because it was yours, if you'd like to.
So this is my picture. I did it as a representation of chapter 1. I recognize that it's a frame narrative because it's stories within a story. And so I've got 2 houses. They're really the same house. One of them's in 1943, one of them's in 1994, excuse me. And we start in medias res and go back to 1943. I've got 4 hearts because it was Patria, Dede, Minerva, and Mate back in 1943. But by 1994, there's only Dede remaining. And I thought there's a lot of foreshadowing in the chapter. So even though this was something I created on the computer, this is very appropriate for an illustrator role. And you could go this route or draw your own picture or something like that. You could do a collage or really anything that illustrates what you thought was important in the chapter.
Now this is again an abbreviation of what your literature circle will take place. Everyone will have a say and you may have more discussion. It would probably take place longer than 10 minutes, but you want to make sure you come to discussion prepared because you do receive an extra grade for coming to discussion prepared and being able to participate within your group. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask any of your world literature teachers or watch any of the different videos about any of the rules.